We are back and we are live. It is Fight IQ presented by RotoWire on International Fight Week. It is UFC 239. We have two title fights. John Bones Jones defends his light heavyweight title against Thiago Santos. And the champ defends her bantamweight title. It is Amanda Nunes taking on Holly Holm in our co-main event. Here to break down UFC 239, talking DraftKings specific. I am your host of Fight IQ, the daily fantasy sniper, the analyst, the really important guys on this podcast. I'm just here to add color and a little bit of entertainment when I can. It is Chris Olsen, also known as @RealChrisOlsen on Twitter, and Joe, who's @Sun-Tzu or just Sun-Tzu in the DFS MMA world. Guys, International Fight Week. Who's pumped up?
Sean, I have to say, though, last week you legitimately added some color to the podcast.
Right. Yeah, a little bit today as well.
I'm still a little bit.
I see that. I see that. And
my forehead peeled all nasty, too.
I have to tell everybody, the real Chris Olsen made his Sirius XM debut this morning, which I will put my hand up and say I missed it. I got hung up with work stuff. But there is a soundbite available to listen to, right?
That's right. Yes. If you go to my page right now, you'll see early this afternoon I retweeted it. Now, it's not the full appearance, unfortunately. It's about 3 minutes. But you still get to hear me in all my glory in my Sirius debut. I was thinking about abandoning these guys for greener pastures, but I don't forget where I come from. Yeah. So I am here. We are going to talk about really a card that I can't remember the last time I was this excited about a card. I'm excited about so many matchups here. Obviously the main event, obviously the co-main event, but there are others. This is a card that is really sort of unique in the fact that there are a lot of big favorites here. We're going to have to comb through for dogs, which is my specialty. So I am ready to get going.
Let's be honest, though. You wouldn't leave us because this trio here, I have to say, I listened to a bunch of podcasts. I think in terms of pure entertainment value, we've got to be way up there. We have a lot of fun on this show.
We're amazing. And you know what else?
No, wait, not amazing. Because I think there are obviously other great handicappers, other great DFS players out there. But in terms of entertainment, come on now. Who's more entertaining than us?
No.
Joe putting you in your place at least 3 times an episode. It's fantastic to watch.
More than that.
And then every once in a while, Joe goes off on you and it looks like a horse's ass.
That's my favorite part.
I did last time, that's for sure.
So I live for next time moments. You go off on him, Joe, you better have the goods. How are you doing, Joe? I mean, you have 150 entry, $23.90 tournament. I mean, you are the high roller here.
I'll tell you what, and if there isn't enough things to spend your money on, DraftKings just dropped the televised slate. And there's a $15 contest with $15K to first. So like we don't have enough to spend our money on. Now we've got $10K to first. But that's still pretty darn good for a televised slate contest. I mean, $10K to first, and there's also a haymaker, which is pretty nice. $10,000 haymaker with what do we got here? $1,000 to first. So, like, if there wasn't enough to spend your money on, I will say that, I might be the high roller, but I do not have an unlimited bankroll. I am going in 100 lineups into the 2390. 23 of which I actually won, previously. So at least I got some relief there. But I will be going 100 lineups deep. I currently have 72 lineups created. I've got 28 to go. That's what I've been working on.
Yeah, so for me, if anybody's curious or just I won some tickets, I got 5, and that's the only 5 I'm playing.
Wow.
3. I'm playing 3 in the 2390. I'm going to go real kind of contrarian there, but I'm playing the mini max. I'm playing the $4 the 20 max 4 entry. I'm playing all my normal stuff. I'm not going to get sucked too far away into that 2390. And I just want to bring up, Joe loves his content super top heavy.
I love it.
But just understand it's kind of a lottery ticket. You could be sharing in a lot of ways unless you get really different. If you're trying to build a bankroll and more serious DFS player, there are better contests, in my opinion.
Yes.
This ticket is, but it's for fun. And if you get that, I like to put that out. You got to understand if you're trying to build a bankroll, there's a better contest. But don't not play the 2390. Everybody play it. I'm playing some too. And I say I'm only playing 3, and watch me come fight day, I'll have 10. But we'll see. Let's dig into some fights. Before I do that, as you hear my cat yelling in the background, telling me to hurry up. It is. Make sure you go to rotowire.com/free, 10-day free trial to all their premium content, no credit card required. Thank you to them for allowing us to do this podcast and hosting it and putting it out. You can find the podcast on iTunes, RotoWire MMA. Subscribe to that. We also put these out live. So if you're listening on iTunes, this is a replay of the live episode, Friday night, 8 o'clock on YouTube. RotoWire is the channel. Right, Chris? It's not RotoWire MMA, is it? Just RotoWire?
Yeah, just RotoWire.
Rotowire.com, I think, is the username on YouTube. 8 o'clock when we record these. Everybody in chat, welcome. Let me peek into chat, see who's here. As usual, I'm going to give a couple shout-outs because it is International Fight Week, and these are our loyal followers here. You know, Tom Green, Nandalal, who if I messed your name up, I am really, really sorry. John Church, of course. I don't see him in here yet, but Of course, Joseph Jackson is a regular. There's tons of guys in here who'll be popping in and out. So I'm going to try and give some more shout-outs as usual, and hopefully we get some more followers from this.
Mario Yamasaki, of course. We can't forget about him.
The unemployed,
Thank you for showing up.
Mario Yamasaki.
The unemployed Mario, which is the actual Mario Yamasaki.
Yeah, exactly. It might really be him.
True. It could be.
Oh, look, we get to start off with the women's fight. So you know what, Joe, you're going to be up first here. It is Julia Avila, 8,600, taking on Pannie Kianzad at 7,600. Avila minus 190, making her UFC debut. Come back on Kianzad plus 175. Joe, who you got?
I have to say that you know, I'm really liking there's a little bit of negative odds value in you know, in Avila, who's known as the Raging Panda, great nickname.
Yes.
You know, part of the narrative here is that she kind of trains at, you know, a no-name gym in Oklahoma. Although, you know, like she does have a wrestling pedigree. She is uber aggressive. Her early in her career, and look, she's only 6-1. Her only loss is as a result of a hand injury. But early in her career, she beat Marion Renault and Nico Montano. So, you know, I've seen pretty much all of her fights. I'm so psyched that she's in the UFC. I wish she would have, you know, like started her career half a decade earlier. Pannie Kianzad is a tough alum, you know, lost the final in the UFC, got booted, is coming back on short notice. Melissa Gatto was the original opponent. I actually think this is a better fight for the Raging Panda than Pannie. I think Pannie has got some name recognition, which is the only thing that I could think of as to why the odds are being driven down here. I really like Avila. I am even going to predict a finish here. You know, I will predict Avila by finish. I like her a lot. I will be over market weight to her, which I actually don't even want to be giving away, but I will be over market weight to her in the 23.90. Avila, go Raging Panda.
Chris, who you got?
Okay. As people in the chat pointed out, laughingly and lovingly, and I have to. It's not Pansy there, Joe. It's
I know. I actually know that.
Pannie Kianzad.
I know. I know it's Pannie.
All right, and look, I can see why people like Avila. I mean, she comes out like a house on fire, and she really just tries to throw hands on you and smother you until you go down. And I can see why people like her. Her only loss was because she dislocated her finger in a fight, so she doesn't really have a loss. I'm looking a little bit deeper at Kianzad here. I like her. I liked her a little bit in the Chiesa fight. That didn't work out, but of course Chiesa has some physical advantages that Avila won't have. I like that Kianzad is a pretty technical boxer. She's got a nice high guard that she keeps. She's got decent footwork. She's a good stalking pressure fighter as opposed to Avila, who's more of a burst fighter. I don't know. I think this is a closer matchup than the 2-1.
Yes, listen to Chris. It's a very close matchup. Please listen to Chris.
I know. Doubt me again, Joe.
I honestly want everybody to listen to you. Like, yes, like depress ownership on her. Please listen.
I know exactly what you're doing, Joe. Yes. Unfortunately, you tried that with Barbarena. It didn't work so well. I'm gonna just keep going with it. That's I'm gonna, don't stop me now.
So you're picking Ponzi.
I think this is gonna be a closer fight than the odds suggest. I think either way, it's going to be pretty high scoring. I think both these women know how to throw in volume. I like Kianzad. I think she's got a nice floor, and I think she can win the fight. Yes, my pick is Kianzad. Yes.
Wow, good for you. Listen to Chris, please.
Ismail Naurdiev.
Come on, you didn't give a pick.
Oh. I'm trying to get by that one. I like Avila here. I think what's interesting is they both throw in volume, but then they both throw in volume and burst and kind of back off.
She's got such a strength advantage, Avila. I mean,
well, the thing is, she could fight at 35. So I think eventually that's my one worry with her is I don't think this is going to be eventually the weight class she finds a home in. I think she's going to eventually be a bantamweight, but I don't know how long featherweight's going to be around anyway. Actually, because I had also had a busy day at work, I want to see the stare downs and see what the size is here. I feel like Pannie's the bigger featherweight, but I could be wrong. And Avila, I do think she's stronger. It's just the size is the one thing holding me back. I do think Avila wins. And any fight in the mid range, you have to target. Just the salaries are insane this week because I think there's no fighter who's favored less than -200, or Avila is the lowest now, -1. If a couple -190s. Song Yadong has dipped into the ones, but everybody's -200 or higher, at least, especially when salaries were released. So, yeah, stars and scrubs is going to be popular, but if anything in the mid range, you need to target a bunch of.
Sean, I think you're confusing our listening audience. This is a fight at bantamweight.
I thought it was a featherweight.
No, it's
really
it's a 135.
Oh, then excuse me. I really thought this fight was a featherweight.
Not that I can see.
Okay, nope, you're right. People are correcting me in chat. See, this is what happens when there's
our millions of viewers.
Millions of viewers. I have dropped the ball here. Then just the size. Could Avila make flyweight at some point?
She is incredibly solid. I mean, you got to look at her. I mean, she's got bigger arms than. I mean, she's a solid power wrestler.
All right, my mistake, everyone. This is why I'm just the host of the show. I add a little bit of color. and Joe should not be asking me to give picks. I like Avila here. And we'll find out later because I've had my hot take queued up for about a day and a half now, so I'm ready to roll on it, and I expect everyone to get real mad.
Okay, let's do it.
Ismail Naurdiev. I'm gonna say his last name again. I'm just call him Ismail from here on out. He's 9,300. Chance Rencountre is 6,900. Naurdiev -525. Rencountre +450. You know what? I'll give you not a hot take, but the better DraftKings play in this fight. For me, Chance Rencountre. Chris, who are you taking? I still have Naurdiev to win, by the way, but Rencountre is the better DK play.
Not Rencountre. I just think that look, Naurdiev. I mean, I don't think he should be this big a favorite. I think that he all kind of took us by surprise, and now the odds makers don't really know what to make of it.
And took my money, mother.
Yeah, well, yeah, I took a lot of people's money. Really, beating Michel Prazeres everywhere, which was so surprising. Even when Prazeres did get him down, he was able to reverse pretty easily and stuffing a number of takedowns as well. And the thing here that you can't like about this matchup with Rencountre is we saw it. I mean, last time he just got a quick little sub against Kyle Nelson, but the fight before that against Bilal Muhammad, against the guy who was just pouring offense on him and really keeping the pressure on him, he just looked lost. He was just eating shots the whole fight. And I expect that to be the case here. Naurdiev is a very active kickboxer. He's a powerful guy. I think that Rencountre could have some joy with his wrestling game. But as we saw in the Prazeres fight, he stopped most of those takedowns and was good on the ground defensively when he was taken down. So I can't really put that as a huge Rencountre strength, and I just don't think he does enough on the feet. I think he's too passive. I think he's going to get hit too much, and I think he can get stopped here. So Naurdiev is expensive, but I think he has the tools to get it done here.
Yeah, he's expensive, but he's in the range with Edmen Shahbazyan, John Jones, Michael Chiesa, Marlon Vera. Of all those guys, give Naurdiev's last on my list, and that just means because of the dogs we're hurting for, Chance Rencountre, to me, is in play. Joe, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so, this is one of those situations where we had a guy come in at 6.8K, did 12.3X, scored 83.5 points. but was not expected to even challenge, Tractor Prazeres. He threw 63. He got 63 significant strikes, 4 advances, and 2 reversals, which was pretty amazing. That the way that he was able to actually operate on the ground, his striking is pretty fluid. So here's a situation where we got a fighter that's going from 6.8K to 9.3K.
Yeah.
Which worries me a little bit, and is a 546 favorite in this fight, minus 546. So I am a little bit concerned about all this. This is only his 2nd fight in the UFC. It's on a marquee card. On paper, Rencountre is had much deeper, career. He's also, never been finished either by submission or by knockout. So that's something to take into consideration. What is he going to score in a decision? Now, we know that the floor, based on what he scored against Prazeres, is 83.5, and we all have to believe that Rencountre is not going to be the same type of challenge that Prazeres is, but he is a taller fighter. He is, pretty tough and difficult. So is he going to get you 12x, which is what I think you're going to need to be competitive on this card with all the favorites. So I'm kind of with Sean where, I see better plays here. But I do think you need to have some exposure to him, because if he repeats that performance against a lesser competitor, he could really go off and score some serious points. So I do have concerns. I am going to pick him to win. I will have some Rencountre, but I'm definitely going to, I'm going with Ismail to win the fight.
I should say, by the way, I did my picks for Toutmaster. I'm picking every single favorite to win on this card. So,
jeez, yeah.
So we're getting a little creative here when we're looking for it.
I agree, man.
It basically becomes, all right, because I want to build correlative lineups. So who are the least favorite? Who are my least favorites? Who are the favorites I like the least for DraftKings? And then I'm playing some of the other side and mixing in and making lineups that way.
I don't blame you, dude.
All right, Edmen Shahbazyan, 9,400, taking on Jack Marshman at 6,800. Shahbazyan, minus 570. Jack Marshman, plus 480. Joe gives away bets all the time. This is a DFS podcast. I'm better at DraftKings and bets, so take that for what you will. I will say that I did bet Edmen Shahbazyan to win inside the distance at minus 132 earlier today. I like that line because I think Jack Marshman is old and terrible. He got knocked down by John Phillips, and John Phillips let him off the hook. Shahbazyan seems like the real deal, can adapt to a game plan, has power, has wrestling, better athlete. Give me Edmen Shahbazyan here. And God, it's scary betting an Edmen Tiverdian fighter, but I think that little of Jack Marshman. Jack Marshman I will have zero of. And if I lose money because of Jack Marshman, that's just the way life goes. Joe?
Yeah, I mean, Marshman, even though he was let off the hook, I still don't think he necessarily won the fight, which got him another.
That's right. He got the decision, didn't he?
Yeah, he got the decision. Yeah. Which is, like you got a 21-year-old here who's, he looked really good against Bird, caught him, knocked him out. My only concern here is that Shahbazyan does not get the finish here, and this fight goes to decision. And I'm not sure what he's going to score, if this fight goes to decision. I'm going to pick him to win, and it's as big a fade on Marshman as it is, going with Shahbazyan to win. But I do have concerns here. I mean, he was a takedown machine against Darren Stewart. But then he, just clocked out. And he only won that by split, by the way. He took Stewart down 8 times and got 3 advances and only won a split decision. So he's not good at holding people down.
Well, but Darren Stewart's a wrestler.
Yeah, Darren Stewart and Jack Marshman. I think if this fight hits the ground in the first 90 seconds, I'm going to start walking the ticket window to cash my bet.
Yeah, you know what? That could be. I'm picking Shahbazyan. I like other plays in that higher range, but I will pick Shahbazyan to win.
Chris.
So I want so much to be able to say, well, Shahbazyan, we really don't know what he is yet. I mean, he had a good wrestling performance, but then his next performance was very quick, and we can't trust him to go with the veteran. But I can't do that because Jack Marshman just shows me so much nothing every time he steps in the cage.
I know.
He's supposed to be a good boxer. That's supposed to be his strength, but he's out of range so often with his shots, and he gets taken down so easily. His footwork is pretty good, and that's the one thing that I'll say in his favor here. But even then, I mean, I do echo some of Joe's concerns because, I mean, we saw him eat big shot after big shot against Carl Roberson and couldn't put him out. So I do agree with that somewhat. But the good thing here is we do have a wrestling advantage. He can grapple a little bit. That is Shahbazyan. And Marshman has never shown anything on the ground at all. And I just can't trust Marshman. Even as reckless as Shahbazyan comes forward sometimes, I just can't trust Marshman to be able to find a big shot. It just hasn't happened in so long, and I'm not going to trust it here. I'm going to take Shahbazyan, and I think he scores big one way or the other. Either he gets a ton of takedowns and some passes and a big decision, or he gets a finish.
Song Yadong, 8,500, taking on Alejandro Turbo Perez, 7,700. Shouldn't have scrolled past that so quick. 7,700. Yadong, as I mentioned earlier, now minus 190. Come back on Perez plus 175. Perez is a guy who manages to look bad in fights and still win them. That being said, it's a huge step up for Song Yadong. He has fought nobody the caliber of Alejandro Perez. Perez is a good, I took a shot at him, but he's a UFC caliber fighter. You can't take that away from him. Yadong is quicker. Sure. I think the speed is what's going to be the difference here, but I think this is a close fight. Perez has really good takedown defense, and here's the issue is that, again, I don't want to play a ton of Song. Perez in 3 rounds, rack up some striking, could weasel out a decision on this with lack of dogs, could be plenty here. I'm likely to have more Alejandro Perez than Song Yadong, even though I'm rostering picking Song to win. As I mentioned, I am picking every favorite to win. I think the speed is ultimately going to be the issue here. If you're wondering where I'm going to make up all this mid-range salary, by the way, just wait till we get to Luke Rockhold, to the Luke Rockhold Jan Błachowicz fight.
Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler. That
Man.
fight. That's the fight. So if you're wondering, well, who the hell is he playing? That's the fight. So Song's the pick. Perez, I'll have more DK exposure to because I have to. Chris.
Yeah, I don't dislike Alejandro Perez. I think he's a good boxer. He's got some good footwork as well. What I noticed is that he really seemed to struggle against Cody Stamann when Stamann was really pressuring him and keeping him walled up against the cage. And I expect Song Yadong to do a similar thing here. I don't expect him to give him a second to breathe. I don't expect him to give him the space he needs to find his shots. I agree with you about the speed advantage. Song Yadong is pretty good at everything. As you said, Perez has some good takedown defense. He's a hard guy to hurt. So 8,500 is kind of a steep salary here. This could be a fadeable fight. But as for the pick, I'm going with Yadong.
Joe.
Yeah, so I think Perez is going to be one of the 3 betting line underdogs that is going to get some ownership. Might be my least favorite of the 3, and I'll tell you why. In 3 decision wins, he scored 56.5, 47.5, and 60. So even in a win, you're not going to get 10x from him. Which tempers my enthusiasm for him. He beat Eddie Wineland. He was a favorite in that fight, 9.1K salary. He was an underdog against Alcantara, who has just fallen off a cliff, and won that fight by decision, but only scored 47.5 points. And then against Sukhumtov, I think it was pretty even. And Sukhumtov. And then
no, not that. Whenever anybody mentions that fight, I laugh because he got knocked down 3 times in that fight.
And he scored 60 points. So that's what concerns me a little bit. I mean, look, here's the thing. Yadong is the UFC bright golden boy or one of their golden boys for China. I have to believe, and again, read this as narrative if you may, that they did not bring him to Las Vegas to lose. They want him to do well. It's such a huge market in China. There's a PI that opened up there that's opening up. So I'm going to pick Song Yadong to win, although I do think that there will be some ownership on Pérez. And let's be honest, Yadong has not exactly beat the murderer's row in Kundari, Hernandez, and Morales. I don't know if any of those guys are with the UFC anymore. He did score 104, 113 and a half, and 185 and 85 and a half.
But our friend Chris has put up 100 over Baja Kundari.
Yeah, so that could be. So you are likely going to get, at 8.5K, you are likely going to get your 10 to 12x on a win, just based on past precedent. So I don't know. I'm gonna take Yadong. I don't know yet what my ownership is going to be on him, but I think I'm currently targeting him at around 15%, which will probably be under the field because it's mid-range. But I'm going to pick Yadong to win.
Claudia Gadelha, 8,800, taking on Randa Markos at 7,400. Gadelha minus 220, Markos plus 200. The one concern I have in this matchup is Claudia Gadelha has been declining. We can see the decline. I still think she's better than Randa Markos because Randa Markos is kind of Claudia Gadelha, just a poor man's Claudia Gadelha. Has wrestling, has some pressure, tends to starts quick, tends to slow down. Gadelha should just be better unless she's totally fallen off a cliff. Minus 220 is a little wide for me, but I get it. Gadelha is the better play. I don't want any of Markos here. She just doesn't excite me that much because I don't think she's going to have grappling success against Gadelha. I think the way Markos wins this fight is if she actually takes it slow, paces herself, lets Gadelha burn herself out, maybe stop a couple takedowns. Esparza did drop Gadelha, which is concerning, but
very concerning.
Has shown Esparza's stand-up has been improving across the board, and that was kind of the first spot we saw it, but I still think Gadelha is better. I don't have interest in Randa Markos. Gadelha should be a little bit better everywhere. So give me Gadelha. Still not one of my favorite plays in that range, but I do think she wins. Who's starting this one off? Joe.
Okay, so I should say that I really do like the Brazilian Scarlett Johansson, Claudia Gadelha. However, and this is all narrative, right? Well, some of it's narrative. Okay, she's 33 years old, right? I don't know. I'm sorry, she's not 33 years old. Markos is 33 years old. Gadelha, Gadelha is, how old is she? Okay, so Gadelha is 30 years old, but she is a worn 30 years old. She had wars against Joanna, okay? I will argue that she actually lost the Carla Esparza fight, which would put her at 3 losses, considering she lost to Nina Arsenov. So let's look at her recent wins. Karolina Kokevich, who fell off a cliff, and Courtney Casey, who's like a split decision machine against whoever she fights. So I would argue she really hasn't had a quality win in a while. At least on paper, Markos has beaten Carla Esparza on paper because that was a pretty close fight.
That was a robbery.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. However, Angela Hill, went the distance with Andrade. She armbarred Angela Hill in the first round. My understanding is, and again, this is narrative, that she's got her whole camp situation, straightened out. I liked what I saw against Angela Hill. Claudia, on the other hand, has taken a beating. I don't think that she is going to be any more than a gatekeeper for the 115. I don't know if that's going to affect her mentally. I did hear that she's back in New Jersey with Mark Henry for this camp. She does have some roots in New Jersey. There's a large Portuguese community. She does events in New Jersey. I always see her doing promotions in New Jersey. I agree with everything Sean said that Claudia Gadelha on paper is better everywhere. However, surprise, surprise, I am going to buy into the narrative a bit here. I will have a fair amount of exposure to Markos. We need a dog or two. There's one dog I actually like better on this card that we'll talk about, but we will have, I will have some Markos, and I am going to actually pick her for the upset. I'm going to pick Markos by decision.
Can't believe you're going to pick against Funky Ben Askren. I can't believe you're going to go there.
I am.
I'm just guessing. Yeah, I knew it.
Nice.
Got it right.
As am I, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Ooh. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of think it's not that she doesn't have any deficiencies. The cardio is an issue, but I kind of think her demise has been a little bit overstated. I think, you know what? I think it depends on how you see. I think people were really sort of surprised when she lost in the Antrov fight. I actually think Nina Antrov is a better fighter than I think most people do. So
what about Carla? What about Carla? Forget about Antrov.
I agree. I agree with Sean. I think Carla's boxing is very underrated. I think it has been for
not underrated. So vastly improved. It was bad.
Well, no. Okay. I'm going to go a step further. I think it's underrated. I think that now it might have been bad for a while, but now I think it's underrated. I think people haven't caught up to the switch. But I agree with basically with what Sean said. I think that it's just a little everywhere.
Are you getting Chris breaking up?
You're breaking up, dude.
Am I? Okay. Is it okay now?
Yeah, you're better.
You're okay now.
Okay. All right. So, what's the last thing you heard? She's a better boxer, better wrestler, better jiu-jitsu player. If she gets tired, that's one thing. But I mean, it's not. Markos has shown some cardio issues in the past herself. I don't see Markos sticking to a consistent game plan, even if she does win parts of the fight. That's been a knock on her throughout most of her fights. Like, she'll get that first round takedown, and then, inexplicably she'll stay on the feet for the next 2 rounds. I just don't see where she wins this fight unless, as Joe said, Gadelha is so worked, or she gets so tired that Markos can steal it. But otherwise, I'm going with Gadelha to win this pretty comfortably. I would like it a lot better. As Markos said in chat, if it were a little bit less expensive, if it were 85 instead of 88, I think I'd be all over it. As it stands, I still think it's a pretty comfortable win, but maybe tread a little more cautiously with the bigger prices on the slate still left.
Here's some of the shout out to some regulars in chat. You got Marco. I don't want to try and say your last name, buddy. He's still in here. Dave LB, I saw pop in. So thanks for those guys. As we are in on International Fight, we can throwing out extra props to our millions of loyal listeners. Marlon Chito Vera 9,500 taking on. I've been dreading this name for a long time. Take a deep breath. I'm going to compose myself. Nohelin Hernandez. I think I got that close.
That's fine.
Minus 400 for Vera, plus 355 for Hernandez. If I didn't say the DraftKings salary, Hernandez is 6,700. Chito Vera is 9,500. This fight it's weird because Marlon Vera should get a quick finish, but he always starts so friggin' slow. He's a slow starter. Another bet I had this fight going over 1.5 because we set at 1.5. Bantamweight fight. I know Vera has power and he's improving. Hernandez was going to headline an LFA card in 2-3 weeks. He was in camp. Good fighter. Was going to get a call up soon. This fight is closer than the line indicates, I believe. I think the line's a little wide. Marlon Vera at minus 400. That's just a bit much. He should be comfortably favored here, but yeah, 4-1 or 1-4. That's a little steep for me. I don't mind some punt on Hernandez because Vera just doesn't put away people quick. I know he did it to Frankie Saenz last time out, but he went deep into the second round against Waliji Barron, lost the first round to Waliji Barron, which I remember because I was at Joe's house for that one, saying, watch, Barron's going to win a couple rounds here. He took one and then got knocked out, but I digress. Vera doesn't have a killer instinct to where he's going to finish somebody quick. That being said, he still puts up 100 points. This is a fight I'm targeting both sides of. I do think Vera's better. I don't think his Hernandez is a slouch. I'll have some shots on him, but give me Chito Vera for, I think, a 3rd round TKO. Chris.
Yeah, hopefully we can stop agreeing soon because this is getting aggravating. But I pretty much agree with everything you said. The reason why I think this fight is kind of interesting is that the Chito opponent here is he's got no defense whatsoever. Recent fight he was knocked down 4 times before being finished, which I guess shows you he's tough, but not quite the kind of toughness you're looking for. As they say, what you want is to have nobody know how tough your chin is. That's the goal.
Are you talking about the boxing bout?
No. I'm talking about
against Damian Lopez.
No. I'm talking about the last fight that Noel was in.
Yeah, it was a boxing match against Damian Lopez.
No,
he recently was in a boxing match, but he had.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Okay, so you're talking about Reyes, where he won a split decision.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Okay, no, yeah, I wouldn't bring up boxing in here, no, but I think that look, we've seen Cheeto struggle when people put pressure on him, and this guy is a pressure kickboxer. He's got no defense whatsoever, so Cheeto can tag him up, hit him hard, and get him out of there. But Cheeto does struggle when people put pressure on him. Guido Canetti came out fast and hurt him a couple times in that first round. So that's what makes this so interesting to me. I think either guy is live to a finish here. I think they're both going to be swinging for it. I think this is a fight to target. I'm gonna both sides the hell out of this one. Otto's not here to yell at me. So yeah, I think. Look, I think the ownership here on Hernandez could be pretty low. He's a late replacement. Likely, people don't know that much about him, but I think he's a guy to keep an eye on because I think this is going to be an action fight.
Joe.
Okay, so I have a couple of concerns here. You know, this is what's really unusual if you look at Hernandez's record. He actually turned professional off of 2 submission losses as an amateur, which, you know, I don't know that you really see that too often. It's like, yeah, I got finished in my last 2 fights. Let's turn pro. Hello, McFly. Okay, so he turns pro after 2 losses in 2016, and then he can crushes, right? So his next 4 fights, he gets 3 wins by finish and 1 decision, right? Then he takes his first loss, which again, he gets submitted, right? Then from that point on, he is a split decision machine. Split decision, split decision, split decision, unanimous decision, unanimous decision. So the guy he's a decision fighter, right? The one thing that I see that he has going for him, I mean, is that he trains at AKA. You know, that is a big positive here. I don't know if it's enough. He's only 25 years old. I suppose the other thing is that he is equivalent in height and reach. You know, Vera, you know, typically seems to be one of their bigger bantamweights. You know, I believe they match up pretty well. They're both 5'8". Actually, he has a reach advantage over about a 1.5-inch reach advantage over Vera, which is kind of unique. You know, Vera typically fights the smaller guys, but so that's fine. Although, you know, on a good day, Vera should win. Sean's narrative about him coming in off of training to fight a title fight in LFA is great, but you know, Vera is still the guy who had the full camp, and I'm gonna pick Vera to win. I guess I'll throw a few darts at Hernandez. It's just I don't see him getting a finish. If he wins, I see him winning by decision, and I don't even know if he'll get enough points for 10x on a decision. But I will pick Cheeto Vera to win. He is definitely not one of my favorite plays at his price point, but Vera for the win.
All right, Arnold Allen, 9,000, taking on Gilbert Melendez at 7,200. Allen, the big favorite in this one, minus 335. Comeback on Gilbert Melendez, plus 305. Gilbert Melendez, 4-fight losing streak. USADA victim, 100% in my mind. Arnold Allen, though, good fighter, solid, well-rounded. He's going to fight patient, though. So I think he is safe for a win, but man, his style is not good for DraftKings. And on this card, unfortunately, that means I'm playing some shares of the ghost of Gilbert Melendez. Just kind of the way it is for me, the way I'm building, it is scary. It is, but maybe he's back on the juice. And ultimately, Arnold Allen should win this fight. But if they end up staying at range and Allen is patient, Melendez is a veteran who has some solid stand-up. It's not unthinkable to think he could score. He could steal some rounds and win a fight. I will say, because I can hear Joe thinking it, yeah, but just like the last fight, even if he wins, is he going to get 10x? Maybe not, but I'm going to say we're picking all these favorites and saying that's all about, you know, all these underdogs, unless we're going to talk about them in a little bit, unless Santos wins or unless unless Masvidal wins, and Masvidal's priced up. You might need one of these guys who gets a win, doesn't hit 10x. They might be on the optimal way, the way this card shakes out. Now, if one or both of those guys goes out and puts up 110, maybe not. But I'm not going to turn away from a guy who I think, I'm not playing Arnold Allen because he's just not good for DraftKings. So Allen's the win here. He should point his way to a decision win. We're up to Joe for this one.
Okay, so I think Allen's actually a sneaky play here. First of all, Melendez being, 37 years old, hasn't fought in 2 months shy of 2 years. Coming off of 4 losses. I didn't even realize he was still in the UFC. I don't see this as someone who's also, been constantly training over the course of the last 2 years. He's been doing commentating gigs. Apparently he's got businesses. He's making money. He's not necessarily doing this for a paycheck. I have disclosed career earnings north of 1.2 million. I just don't know what he's thinking here. I'm surprised he's not on the Sacramento card. That would seem to be a better card for him. Allen, on the other hand, is, polar opposite, one of the better prospects in the coming out of the UK. 14-1, trains at TriStar. We all have these, TriStar point fighter, commentary or narrative.
It's true.
Yeah, no, look, I get it. I do think, though, that he could get the finish here. I honestly do. And I think at 9K, he's a sneaky play. He's a young fighter. What is he, 25? Okay, he's 25. TriStar point fighter, yes. Current win streak 7. Guy also likes pizza, which is good in my book. Aside from that, though, I really do think he could be a sneaky play at 9K to get the finish, because everything you said, Sean, it's all out there, right? He's a points fighter. He's a decision fighter. Hasn't been getting a lot of finishes yet. What does he really have to do to beat Melendez? If you look at his stat lines, you want to run and hide from this guy. 58.5, 59.5, 79. Right?
His top 79 against Reza Madadi.
Yeah, his last 3 fights, he's got 6.7x, 6.5x, and 10x. So what I'm saying is, rather than going to the ghost of Gilbert Melendez, I'm thinking that Allen might be a contrarian play here at 9K. Just based on his stat line, no one in their right mind would play this guy. Right? So I'm thinking he's going to be maybe a contrarian play, and his ownership is going to be way underowned. So I think there's a bit of that here. So I'm going to pick Allen to win, and I am going to actually pick him to get the finish here.
Oof. Chris.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. It would be a contrarian play. I think it's just hard. It's hard to do on this slate specifically. I think I would like it more on a less loaded slate than this, but I do see where you're coming from. I just think Arnold Allen is very good at keeping range, and I just think the more classic boxing of Gilbert Melendez isn't gonna really find any joy here. I think that he could use his kicks. Gilbert's still really heavy on that front leg, as of course we saw in the Jeremy Stevens fight where he turned it into hamburger meat. I think Melendez can get finished here, but he's a really tough finish. If I remember correctly, he didn't even get finished in that Stevens fight, did he? He fought the whole way. I believe he did. So yeah, I think Arnold Allen wins here, but on a slate like this where there's so many favorites, I mean, Joe's playing, 100 lineups, you said, in the big one?
Yeah.
So for you, I wouldn't mind taking like 9 or 10 if you wanted. But if you're playing like 10 to 15, or I might have to stay away from Arnold Allen here. But, I mean, look, it's intriguing. He's going to be low-owned. I really think he's got advantages here, and that's always intriguing. As we said in the beginning, you're going to need to be different. Steep pay jumps and all that, lottery ticket. But, yeah, so Arnold Allen's the play, and I guess it's up to your discretion if you want to use the contrarian payout.
I will say last thing, because we're going a little long this week talking about this great card. Melendez, those 4 straight losses, Anthony Pettis, Eddie Alvarez, Edson Barbosa, Jeremy Stevens.
Yep.
Those are legit.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I do think Allen's a good
James Tahuna. James Tahuna.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
And I'm still picking Allen to win. But all right, now we get to some really interesting ones here. Michael Chiesa, 9,200, taking on another ghost. The ghost of Diego Sanchez at 7,000. Chiesa minus 355. Sanchez plus 320. The ghost of Diego Sanchez on a 2-fight win streak. Guys, listen very carefully. Make it close to my mic. It could be loud. Against Craig White and Mickey Gall. Yeah, this is different. Michael Chiesa was a top 10 guy. Yes, at lightweight. Guess what? He's healthier at welterweight. In those fights, in both of those fights, by the way, Craig White and Mickey Gall, Diego Sanchez was hurt. It hurt bad, and he was able to rely on his grappling. He cannot do that here against Michael Chiesa. I know Diego's a black belt. Chiesa's a good grappler too. Everyone is liking Diego that I've heard. Give me Michael Chiesa. I might mix in a couple shares of Diego just in case because he is out of his freaking mind. And I do love watching Diego fight. But I think Chiesa's the better play. I think he's going to go under own. Give me Michael Chiesa. And what's going to be a theme that we're going to get to in the next 15 minutes talking about the next two fights. Guys moving up a weight class should do good things for them. This is the more confident of those two, I think. No, I like both of them pretty well. And there's holes for different reasons, but give me Chiesa here. Can you really see 30-million-year-old Diego Sanchez on a 3-fight win streak? Because I can't. Chris.
Okay, so here's the thing. Diego Sanchez doesn't really lose to grapplers. He beat Marcin Held, and he out-grappled him. I think that, look, Michael Chiesa, for as much as he likes grappling and he's a good top control grappler, he gets subbed a lot. Carlos Condit had him deep in an armbar in that fight. I mean, he puts himself in bad positions.
And then he outstruck Carlos Condit.
Sure. But look, I'm not saying that. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that Chiesa can't knock Diego out here. He can. But what I'm saying is that Chiesa is going to be more than happy to entertain the grappling exchanges, and when he does, I think Diego's going to beat him there straight up. I really think he will. I think that as long as Diego has this fight on the ground, I think he's safe. I think that Chiesa is a rangy guy, sort of an improving boxer. I mean, Mickey Gall, they're not the same fighter before Sean freaks out, but Mickey Gall had some of that length too, and Diego dealt with it. I just think this is a pretty good matchup. And look, for 7K, it's hard to go. I actually think you're right, Sean, that Chiesa can go under owned here, but I think it's hard to pass on Diego here. We're talking about dogs. We got a guy in look, let's say this. The most favorable kind of matchup he's going to get at this point in his career.
This is worlds different. I'm like,
how is it world? It's worlds different than Marcin Held.
Mickey Gall is rocking you on the feet.
He did not rock him. He did not rock him. He never rocked him.
Yes,
never rocked him. He didn't. Everybody go watch that fight and prove how right I am.
He blitzed him and he hurt him. He absolutely hurt him.
He hit him. He didn't hurt him. I'll say Craig White did. That's and look, and
it's chalkier and just comparing. I just can't.
It's not no. Wait.
Yes. No. You're not being different here. You're really not.
Craig White was way chalkier than this. Everybody was on him versus Craig.
Everyone's picking Diego here, or if Diego's alive. Yeah, a lot of people are on Diego's alive DK play. Absolutely, I think. And if Gall's gonna hurt you in the feet, like give me.
So Chris, you're picking Diego.
I'm picking Diego. Look, small sample size, but I think I'm the only one who picked him in our staff picks, or maybe me and somebody else.
Yeah. Okay, so you want some stats here? Let's give you. First of all, I don't believe Diego's 5'10". I think he's probably closer to 5'8". But let's say he's 5'10". So that gives Chiesa a 3-inch height advantage, 3.5-inch reach advantage. Here's the other part of the narrative. Diego has never been submitted. Okay, got it. Diego's never been submitted. He's coming off a 2-can crush winning streak. I like the way that Chiesa looked at 170 in his last fight. Obviously, the weight cuts have been killing him. A guy who's 6'1". I get it. I I think that Chiesa will win this fight wherever it goes. I think he has the potential to knock Diego out. I think he has the potential to knock Diego out. I think he has got a jiu-jitsu advantage. More narrative. Diego Sanchez has left Jackson Wink. He was there. He was there since Crocs were cool.
That's a good.
Maybe yes, maybe no. I mean, you have a 2-fight win streak and you leave your camp. You typically don't see that. Now, with that said, none of us seem to really think a lot of sick jitsu. They have some unique philosophies as to how they run their camps. With that said, again, I think Allen is a sneaky play. I think if I'm going to get ownership, if I'm going to get low ownership on Chiesa, man, count me in. I'm going to be all over Chiesa. I'm not saying Diego's not worth a punt, but this is a fight that if Chiesa wants to move up in the ranks, he knows he has to dominate. He beat the ghost of Carlos Conduit. He needs to beat the ghost of Diego Sanchez and not by decision. So I think Chiesa knows what's at stake here. Look, I love the aggression of Diego, and he's a fun guy. I think he's got some mental issues. But above and beyond that,
you think he might have some?
I think Chiesa has all the tools to beat Diego. So I'm picking Chiesa.
You think Chiesa's a better submission grappler than Marcin Held? Because I do not.
I do.
But okay, well.
Yeah, Marcin Held, but come on, Chris. Michael Chiesa was top 10 at lightweight. Marcin Held can barely get a Bellator.
What does that mean?
Chiesa. People are absolutely underrating Chiesa because they don't like him. Period.
The idea that he choked out Benny means a lot. He choked out Jim Miller.
Choking out Benil Dariush and Jim Miller is no joke.
Yeah. So I like Chiesa here a fair amount.
I agree with Joe. Let's move on. Luke Rockhold, 8,400, taking on Jan Błachowicz, 7,800. Sorry, Chris. Made myself laugh there. Minus 225 for Rockhold. The comeback on Błachowicz, plus 205. I love this fight. Luke Rockhold's an extra 20 pounds, douching it up in his interviews as always. If you didn't see the one today, it's a pretty good one. Look, Jan Błachowicz. The only question here is Luke Rockhold's chin totally destroyed from what Yoel Romero did to it? That's the narrative everyone's talking about it. That is absolutely accurate. Extra 20 pounds will help. It's how destroyed is it? But Jan Błachowicz hasn't knocked anybody out in 5 years, and I think that was a body kick against Ilir Latifi. If he gets on top, Luke Rockhold's top game is strong. Mid-range fight, high inside the distance prop. I love me Luke Rockhold, and whatever Luke Rockhold I don't have, I'll hedge some with Jan Błachowicz, but I think Rockhold's the better fighter. And if we weren't worried about the chin issues, I think he's closer to minus 400. So I like Rockhold a bunch here. Joe.
Okay, so this is the only fight on the card that offers any significant odds value, right? So if you look at where Rockhold currently is, Rockhold is currently at minus 236 at 8.4K. He has got Gadelha, Askren, Yadong, and Avila, who are all higher priced on DraftKings, under him in terms of, odds value here. So it does make me a little nervous, his fighting at, 205. Błachowicz is not a small guy, but Rockhold should have all the tools to beat Błachowicz. Now, I thought Błachowicz actually had a shot to do something in the weight class prior to his last fight, where he essentially just laid an egg in his last fight. So I like Rockhold. Unfortunately, I think he is going to be one of the highest owned fighters on the slate. He's mid-range and he's offering odds value, right? That's not something that you're seeing on this card. I mean, this is like there's not an 8.2 and 8K fight range on this card. You've got Rockhold at 8.4, right? And you've got Błachowicz at 7. What is he? 7.8? 7.7. So
8. No, you're right. I'm sorry.
8. So you're getting odds value. You're getting odds value with Rockhold. I mean, obviously coming off that knockout against Santos, that was not a good look for Błachowicz. And again, that's I think what has caused. Before that, he was on a 4-fight win streak against Krylov, Manoa, Cannonier, and Clark. Which looked really good. My one concern with Rockhold is that he essentially had his life changed for him in his fight against Joel Romero. I mean, yes, he's taken time off, which is good, but man, did
that was hard to
beat him. Like he beat him like, what'd someone say? Beat him like onions. Anyway, he beat him bad. So I don't know. That's just, I heard that, I think, on the movie Hoodlum. Watch out before I beat you like onions. Okay, so I'm gonna pick Rockhold here. Mike, the one concern I have is that if you're gonna play him in the 23, he's gonna be so highly owned that you're not gonna. It's gonna be hard to get anything contrarian. Any kind of contrarian lineup with Rockhold, especially if you're pairing him with John Jones. So Rockhold for the win. Make note of the odds value. Make note of the fact that he's going to be really highly owned.
Chris.
So maybe I'm crazy and I get the odds value and all that stuff, but I don't see Rockhold as being that highly owned. Just because I think
he's going to be over 50%.
Dude, all the odds, all the poker picks are going to have him.
You said over 50%?
Yep.
Can we prop bet that? 50%?
Absolutely. I'll give you even money.
Okay, fine. $5.
Done.
All right, good.
Joe, who do you have in that bet?
No, I don't know. I think 50% is a good number. I think that's actually a good bet.
All right, let's see.
I think that's a solid bet.
And I'm not a welcher like some people I can name that aren't here. But
Otto,
shots fired.
I was going to give Otto a chance to go double or nothing on Andrea KGB Lee's next fight, but he's been MIA. Otto.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, the reason I said that, just to finish off the point there, is that I think the perception of Rockhold never really recovered after the Michael Bisping knockout. I think people didn't think too highly of even the David Branch sub when it happened. Now it looks way worse. And I just think he might be a little bit of an afterthought here. Look, he came up, he lost to Romero, he's taken more time off. He's been very inactive. People just remember the knockouts, but I digress. We'll see who makes that sweet $5. Having said all that, I am still picking Rockhold here, and the reason I am is because look, I was just talking about his ownership. That's all. The reason I'm picking him is because I think look, Błachowicz has been doing okay in that division. He's a decent counterpuncher and he's a good boxer for the division, which basically means he knows how to throw a jab, which actually has done wonders for him there. But I think Rockhold should be able to keep the distance with his kicks. I think if he gets him on the ground, I think his submission game is way better. I just think that look, can Błachowicz find his chin? I mean, Dave Branch had some success in that first round, finding the chin a little bit. So it's possible. But I think Rockhold, as I said, using his kicks, using his length, mixing in that wrestling against the cage. I think this is Rockhold's fight to lose, and I think he probably gets a finish here.
Ben Askren, 8,700, taking on Jorge Masvidal at 7,500. Askren minus 200, Masvidal plus 185. Askren, I want to say this, guys. I don't care that Robbie Lawler was not out. That fight was over. Give it a few more seconds. He was either going to tap or going out. It wasn't a headlock. It's a bulldog choke. It is no joke. If you've ever been in one, the fight was over, period. Now, moving on.
Go ahead.
Have you ever been in a bulldog choke? Let me come.
No, but that's not the point. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. What I'm saying is there's no such thing as wait a while. If it didn't happen, it didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Stopped it 3 seconds too early from you having no leg to stand on. The fight was over.
But I would rather that. I would rather that, and then I would have nothing to say about it. His thumb was up literally a second before the fight was called off. You can't do that. You can't do it, but you can't. That might, maybe not, as Jorge Masvidal would say. We don't know that for sure.
Okay, disagree, because go watch the Gracie breakdown. I trust those guys more than anyone else. Anyway, Askren has got either Masvidal is going to be able to get back up after he's taken down, and he obviously will win the stand-up exchanges and win a fight, a mid-range fight, so you got to play some, or Askren is going to wrestle him for 3 rounds and probably score pretty well. So I like this fight both sides. I think the wrestling wins out of Askren. I keep forgetting who we're up to this week. Anybody know?
I think it's me. I don't remember.
You go ahead.
All right. So whether or not the choke was in, it wasn't. But whether or not it was, look, you still haven't seen Askren do anything in the UFC. Whether or not you think he won that fight, he didn't really get his takedown game working against Robbie Lawler. We still don't know if he can get his takedown game working against high level competition. That's the bottom line. And Jorge Masvidal, look, we even talked about this last week when we were talking about Damian Maia. He had to do good enough jiu-jitsu to keep Damian Maia, not only keep him from being sub, but reverse him in that first round, take him off his back in the standing position, and land some vicious ground and pound, and really put Maia in trouble, saved by the clock at the end of that first round. So I trust Masvidal a ton here. I think he's going to come out a more aggressive style, more similar to what we saw in the Till fight and what we've seen in fights like the Ellenberger fight. I think that, look, Ben Askren can make me look silly here, but I got to see it first. I got to see his game work against high-level competition, and I haven't seen it yet. So,
he just submitted Robbie Lawler, so that's weird.
No. I mean, he didn't, but
he did.
Herb Dean did. I think that look, this is one of those fights we always talk about. Sean mentioned it. It's a binary fight. Either one guy gets their game working, or the other one does. And if Ben Askren doesn't get his game working, he's going to get knocked out because he literally has no striking whatsoever. That is not hyperbole. I think that Masvidal is going to keep the range. I think he's going to be good enough to stop takedowns. I think he's going to get a finish here. Probably a quick one. I like Masvidal. Give me all the Masvidal.
Joe.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Chris. He's got a 77% takedown defense. He KO'd Cerrone. He KO'd Till. Askren is obviously elite wrestler, but he is known to gas. He's not a great athlete. Kind of dad bod-ish. Look, I'm going to have shares of Askren, don't get me wrong, but in a card where you are looking for an underdog, this jumped out at me from the moment the numbers were posted. I like Masvidal here. I mean, 7.5K. Unfortunately, you're right. He's going to be uber chalk, as a dog play, as a sub 8K play. So, do that with what you will, but I am going to pick him for the upset. That's my second upset. I'm picking two upsets on this card.
All right, Amanda Nunes, 9,100, taking on Holly Holm at 7,100. Nunes minus 380, Holm plus 340. The Holm haters are out, and I get it. It's tough to justify her getting a title shot with her recent resume. I'm going to throw that out the window and just stylistically, this is not a good fight for Amanda Nunes. I'm still picking Amanda Nunes to win, by the way, but this is not a good stylistic matchup for her because the most similar stylistic matchup to Holm is Shevchenko. And those were pretty close fights for Holm. She didn't score a ton of DraftKings points in those fights. Holm went 5 rounds against Cyborg, won 2 of those rounds. It was a 48-47 fight. Like, Holm was not that far away from being the featherweight champion on 2 separate occasions. I think, man, the difference maker here is that when Amanda Nunes hits women, different stuff happens. She's got crazy power. So there's that to it, and grappling-wise, she's going to have an advantage. She's just got more tools. I just think Holly Holm is live here, and I'm not convinced that Amanda Nunes is. We've seen her. She knows she has gas tank issues. If she's going to draw this fight out, she needs, at her price range, she needs over 100, and she's going to be really chalky. So I like Amanda Nunes. I like Amanda Nunes to win the fight. I think Holly Holm is a viable punt. And I'm not sure I want to be chasing all the chalk on Amanda Nunes. So I do think she wins, though. Joe.
Yeah, so, I don't disagree with what you're saying, Sean. I mean, I like, if she was 9,600 or 9,500, I'd be a lot more apt to fade. I mean, looking at this fight at 9.1K, has me wanting to have more of her. Now, You know, obviously MMA math doesn't work, but if you're looking purely at this as an MMA math fight, you know, Holm went, you know, 5 rounds with or went 5 rounds with Cyborg where, you know, Nunes nuked her. So of course that means that, you know, Nunes should be able to nuke Holm. But Holm fights completely differently. She's more of a range fighter. I would like to see Nunes take her down right away. I don't know if she's going to fight that way. I don't know if she is, you know, just enamored with her punches and just will try to pressure her and finish her that way. But I would really like to see her try to get this fight to the ground. I can't exactly endorse Holm as a play here because I think even in a win, she's not going to score very well. You know, so I'm picking Nunes to win, obviously. I'm still debating on how much exposure I'm going to have to her. I do think that she will get the finish here. It might be late, so I'm not really sure what she's going to score. But I like her salary at 9.1K. I think it's very fair. There's, you know, tiny amount of odds value maybe. Maybe there'll be more as lines, you know, tighten up a bit in other fights. I'm picking Nunes to win, though.
Chris?
So Holly relies on counterpunching, and I just don't know where she would ever find counter shots against somebody who's going to keep you at the end of her range and is very accurate. I don't think that this is a bad stylistic matchup. I agree in the sense that, look, Holly can be stingy on the point total. She fights very safe. She's probably going to be stronger than Amanda. She's stronger than most women. She was stronger than Cyborg. So she could try to wall install her as she did with Cyborg. But as far as the pick goes, I really think this is pretty safe. The only weapon that Holly has that I love is the question mark kick, but she doesn't use it enough and she never sets it up. So I can't rely on her throwing one strike. And I think that every other tool belongs to Amanda Nunes, including the power, like you said. I don't think a stoppage is out of the question here, considering how much she got tagged up in that Chris Cyborg fight. But I'm going to go Amanda. And, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if she didn't hit salary, but I'm going to have some shares.
Does anybody know, if anybody in chat knows, tweet it out, is this Holm's first fight post-divorce? Because that could be an interesting narrative. If anybody knows, like chat it out. But I'm just curious personally. I know she's recently gotten divorced. I don't know if this is her first fight post-divorce. And that
hanging around with John Jones an awful lot and all these UFC embeddeds and stuff. So
okay, yeah, that adds to the narrative.
I'm just throwing that out there. No substance to it.
Got it.
Just every video I've seen this week, they've been together. Anybody else realize that? Like they played the whole Guess Who thing.
Did they?
It's Jackson Wink all hanging out together, so
right.
It very well could be nothing. But you know what? It's more fun. They're probably hooking up anyway.
Right.
John Jones, 9,600, taking on Thiago Santos at 60.
Both of their parents were in the clergy, so they got that going for them.
God, I'm going to keep powering through this. Jones, 35.
That is true, though.
Santos,
you brought it up.
Santos plus 525. Everyone knows Santos has got the puncher's chance here. Most dangerous guy Jones has fought. Jones won his father time going to catch up to him.
Wait, are you saying that tongue in cheek, or you really mean you think he's the most dangerous guy Jones has ever fought?
He's objectively the most dangerous.
I don't even think he's in the top 10.
What?
Yeah. Okay, well,
so we're talking. Hang on.
Let me finish my intro, and then you guys can argue. Time out, please. Recently, I believe Santos is the most dangerous guy Jones has ever fought. Has fought recently. I said it again. Jones has fought recently. One will father time catch up to him. Is he getting complacent? Either way, 9,600 is a lot to pay up for and build a good lineup. But he's, if he grapples, this thing could be over quick. Santos, any kind of win, 6,600. He's on the optimal lineup. And if it just goes a little bit, if Jones doesn't have that killer instinct a la Anthony Smith, does Santos get enough points just to kind of get you through in a lineup? I think this is stackable because Santos is so cheap, and I'm looking at double punting this week in cash games. Like both sides of it for tournaments. Not going to be all in though because it's too many extremes. I do think Jones wins, but my heart will be rooting for him to be unconscious. Let's see, a lot of arguing here to start with. Let's Let's start with Chris.
It's mine.
Chris, because I want Joe to yell at you after.
Okay, well, I just have to say, as a jumping off point, there's a difference between most skilled, et cetera, and most dangerous. Thiago Santos, based on his finishing rate, is, I would say, the most dangerous fighter that Jones has ever fought in his prime. I don't even think it's close unless I'm missing somebody who's really obvious, but I don't think that's the case.
Wow.
Making his rise.
I've got 12 guys that are better than tougher than Santos.
You have to look at guys like, we're going way back, but Rampage, TRT Belfort, that whole era.
Cheetah, Evans, Cormier, Gustafsson, Sonnen. I mean, all better than
what?
Chael clearly.
What?
You don't think Sonnen in his prime is better than Santos?
I can't do that. Are you going to start naming Scott Holtzman again? Because I can't do it. I can't do it again.
No, Scott Holtzman.
But look, I mean, I think that.
Give me Stephen Bonner over Santos, please.
Okay, let's calm down a little.
Yeah, you really need to calm down.
Ryan Bader.
I think that look, Santos is probably a different style matchup. Like, if you want to say Rampage might have had the burst fighter explosiveness in his prime, but he wasn't as athletic as a guy like Santos. He didn't have the range kicking game, obviously, that Santos does. John Jones spends a lot of time at range. He just does. He spends a lot of time at range. So if he's there, Santos can use that kicking game. I think that John Jones needs to turn this into a clinch battle, and I think that's where he wins it comfortably. He can. I'm not saying he can't win it at range, but I think the path of least resistance here is either on the ground or in the clinch. I think anytime they spend at range is time he's giving Santos to land a shot. Having said all that, I'm picking John Jones just because I think there's enough holes in Santos's game. He swings a little bit too wide. He can get tired at times. I think that if John Jones hangs in there and extends this past the first round, I think that that this is his fight. But within that first 3 minutes, make no mistake about it, Santos is going to be dangerous, and he is alive. He is. I don't understand how this is even controversial. All right, I'll let you talk. But he's going to be live. He's 6,700. This guy is a finisher. He's athletic. He's powerful. He's got some technique. People are going to think it's crazy because John Jones is John Jones, but he's a live play, and that's all I'm going to say. Now you go ahead, Joe.
I've got 4 words for you.
What?
And the 4 words are Eric.
If you bring up
Eric Spicer,
I knew you were going to bring up Eric Spicer. God.
Branch. Those are the 4 words I have for you.
First of all.
Okay. Well, let me finish here, dude. So my concern is not John Jones winning the fight or John Jones getting the finish. My concern is to get 12x for this fight, which is what I think you need. Jones would need to score 115 DraftKings points. Jones has never scored 115 DraftKings points in any of his fights. That is my one sole concern here. Is not Jones getting the win. Is not Jones getting the finish. It's Jones getting 115 DraftKings points. My fear is that he nukes him so quickly that, you don't get a lot of points, or that he, and I heard this phrase used more in MMA, plays with his food like he did with Smith, and this fight drags out and he doesn't get 115 points. I have no fear at all of Santos. Yes, he's got a puncher's chance. I will have 5% or less ownership of Santos. If Santos beats me out of a GPP, I am perfectly fine with that. I don't see it happening, but hopefully my 5% that I have of him will help me somehow. Or, the 5 lineups that I'm going to have, or 6 lineups with Santos in it will help me. But I have no worries at all about the outcome. My concern from a DraftKings perspective is a concern that everyone should have, is that to get 12x, and I'm talking GPPs here. I am not playing any cash on this card. The GPPs are too rich. No cash for the second week in a row. I'm worried about him getting 115 points.
All right, guys, let's go to hot takes. Let's wrap this thing up. Guys in chat, give me a hot take. I'm just gonna stick to one this week. One hot take. Fire them away. I'll pick one in between when these two guys go. I'll give them another second to think. As my hot take is Amanda Nunes will not be on the winning GPP lineup. I am fading Amanda Nunes. Is that hot enough, or should it, or do we need to go a little bit spicier and pick a second?
All right, that's fine, dude. That's fine. So my hot take is more of an observation. I guess you can call it a hot take. Someone in chat pointed out that if you parlayed every favorite on the card, it would pay 29-1 at his book. So while we were on this podcast, I went into my little New Jersey DraftKings app for sports betting, and every favorite pays on mine like just over 25-1. So what did I do? I put $75 to win $2,000 on a parlay with every favorite, and I think maybe I will use that as a hedge to my DraftKings lineups.
Yeah,
in case
really.
every favorite does in fact win. $75 will pay me $2,000 back. So that's what I'm throwing out there.
Chris, oh, actually, wait, I gotta go. The viewer one, I lied. I'm gonna throw out two.
Okay.
MMA KO, love the guy. Marlon Vera and Jess Avila will both be on the optimal.
Ooh, I love that Avila call, man.
I'm not thrilled with Marlon Vera there, but I get it. I like Brandon Parker's because it'll be well for me. Chance Rencountre wins via first round.
Oh, that's a good one.
Wow, that would be cool.
It's spicy. All right, Chris, take us home.
So I am happy that you read that one because I get to go in direct opposition to a viewer this week. I'm going to say that Marlon Vera gets knocked out in his fight against the newcomer.
Like it.
Okay.
All right, guys, that's what we got. By the way, both those last two will be good for my hedging. Like, I'll be good. That'll be good for my DraftKings lineup. I hope one of you guys are right.
Yeah,
me too. Right.
By the way, that eight fighter parlay that I gave out last week, which obviously didn't hit, but it was 6 out of 8. I know that doesn't pay you anything, but it did go 6 out of 8.
Hang on, I have to read Tom Green's because I like this one. There's going to be a no contest in the card.
You know what? Jones and his eye pokes, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
You know the way. God, can I bet that somewhere?
I don't think so.
I gotta find that because just on top of it, the way Jones International Fight Week has gone his whole career, like something like that's gonna happen. Dude's just cursed.
Yeah.
A lot of it is to himself, but that would not surprise me at all.
Could happen.
All right, guys, that's it for UFC 239. Next week, the lackluster UFC Sacramento's.
Oh, goodness.
But good luck in your contest this week. Make sure and follow all of us on Twitter. I'm at the DF Sniper. Chris is at Real Chris Olsen. Joe is at Sunsu. Go to rotowire.com/free 10-day free trial to all their premium content. No credit card required. Subscribe on iTunes, RotoWire MMA. Make sure you're listening on YouTube Live or just subscribe to rotowire.com. Thanks again, guys. Enjoy International Fight Week. See you next week.
Pandas are cool.